pretty much from the first scene, I really enjoyed the pilot episode of The Odd Couple. I had never heard of this. It aired from 2015 to 2017, and I'm a fan of Matthew Perry's work, so I don't know why I'd never heard of it, but for whatever reason, it bypassed me, and I randomly saw the trailer for it on IMDb and decided to check it out, and I have to say, it's pretty great. Certainly if you like things like Frasier, and I'll come back to that in a moment. This is about two friends. They've been friends for a long time. Oscar Madison, played by Matthew Perry, and Felix Unger, played by Thomas Lennon. And the show is all about them living together because Felix finds out that his wife is wanting a divorce. So he goes to his good friend Oscar and cries on his shoulder, and Oscar doesn't want to see him in a hotel or, by himself, so he lets him stay. But they are like chalk and cheese. And that's of course why this first episode works, but why I think the rest of the show will work. I'm definitely going to keep watching it. Because Oscar, at the beginning, his apartment is a pigsty. He is a mess. He's the definition of a slob. Felix is a neat freak. He likes everything organized and orderly. He likes things done by the book. He likes everything to be in its place. They are chalk and cheese, and it works so well because of that. And this first episode is definitely just setting the scene, getting us introduced to the characters, and telling us Oscar is like this, Felix is like this. They're going to be living in the same environment. They're going to be clashing a lot. And there is a slight sub-narrative here with Oscar dating somebody who lives in his building, called Casey, and Casey invites her sister Emily to kind of double date with Oscar and Felix. Not a proper date. Felix obviously isn't ready for that, but the majority of the evening is spent talking about Felix's wife and Oscar's ex-wife. That doesn't sound funny, but it is. The style of comedy works so well. There's a lot of dry humor. My favorite bit in the entire episode is the last thing Oscar does. I won't say what it is, but it genuinely amused me because it took me by surprise. And I just thought, how on earth is Felix going to get out of this situation? Kind of wish they kept the camera still rolling. I won't say what I mean, but if you've seen the episode, you will know exactly what I'm talking about. I think it's going to work very well. I'm surprised it only ran for 2 seasons, but of course I'm basing that purely on this first episode. Seems to have a strong cast. This first episode includes Yvette Nicole Brown as Dani. We also have Lindsay, Sloane as Emily, and Leslie Bibb as Casey. And I personally think it got off to a very solid start. Now, when I said it's like Frasier, that's for a couple of reasons. For 3 reasons. The first is that I feel the humour is very similar. I think if you like Frasier's style of comedy, this is going to be for you. The second is that the apartment layout, from what we've seen, it's not a mirror image, or it's not an exact carbon copy of Frasier's apartment, but we have the same kind of living room open plan setup with the wide kind of floor-to-ceiling window at the back. The kitchen is off to the right-hand side. Presumably the bedrooms are off to the left. The door is in a very similar place, which it usually is in sitcoms. And I feel like straight away I was getting, even before anybody spoke, I felt like I was getting Frasier vibes. The third reason is that Felix feels a lot like Niles. There's a lot of Niles in what I've seen in Felix in this first episode, and I don't know if this character was written with Niles Crane as the inspiration, but absolutely there's a lot of similarity. And I have to completely praise Thomas Lennon's performance. I really took to that character. He was brilliant. His movements are fabulous. When he uses a lint roller, his movements are so precise and so exact, and it just looks so brilliant. Really a big fan of this character. Matthew Perry, of course, was brilliant. I did wonder, because this is the first sitcom I've seen him in, other than Friends, I did wonder if I'd just be thinking of Chandler Bing, but actually, that never seemed to be a problem. The character is different enough, his mannerisms and his behaviours are different enough. Again, so far, this may change. But the other thing about Frasier that I wanted to mention is that this is actually developed. The show is based on a play, The Odd Couple, by Neil Simon. I'm unaware of the play, but if you have any thoughts on that or are aware of it, please feel free to let me know. But it's also developed for television by Matthew Perry, Dani Jacobson, and Joe Keenan. And it just so happens that Joe Keenan was an executive producer on 144 episodes of Frasier. I learned that fact after watching this episode because I went to see if anybody behind this show was also behind Frasier, because the similarities are quite strong. And yeah, that ended up definitely being the case. So I would say if you're a fan of Frasier, you will love this, at least basing this purely on the first episode. Who knows what it's going to be like when I continue watching it, but I definitely will be continuing to watch this because I really, really thoroughly enjoyed it. It's the exact kind of sitcom that I'm in the mood for. There are 38 episodes, so it's not tremendously long, but I'm hoping that it continues this good quality. I'm so far enjoying it. This first episode is directed by Mark Sandrowski or Kendrowski, and I love it. Genuinely wasn't sure what to expect. I did think, is it going to be cheesy? I saw it was only on for 2 seasons, so I wasn't necessarily expecting much. But honestly, it really delivered, and I really adored it, and I'm definitely going to keep watching it. Would love to know what you think of it. Please, no spoilers for the episodes that come after this. I may review every episode in turn. I'll see. Maybe I will. I don't know. But certainly, the first episode, the pilot of The Odd Couple, I absolutely loved it.